Hey guys, I'm here. Let's get technical. I just saw Cars 3 and oh, it is amazing. I love it so much that today we're going to talk about the top 10 things you need to know about Cars 3. Number 1. In Cars 3, Lightning McQueen is based on Kobe Bryant. In an interview Christina Radish of Collider did with Mike Rich, one of the Cars 3 writers, Mike noted that basketball player Kobe Bryant really affected the character Lightning McQueen became in Cars 3. Mike said he was inspired after reading this Facebook post Kobe Bryant made after he broke his Achilles heel.
Everybody's got their Achilles heel. Achilles' Achilles heel was his heel.
The post was about Kobe's concerns about the future of his career after his accident, and includes lines like, "This is such BS. All the training and sacrifice just flew out the window with one step that I've done 1,000,000 times. The frustration is unbearable. Maybe I should break out the rocking chair and reminisce on the career that was. Maybe this is how my book ends. Maybe Father Time has defeated me. Then again, maybe not. If you see me in a fight with a bear, pray for the bear." I've always loved that quote. That's Mamba mentality. We don't quit, we don't cower, we don't run. We endure and conquer. Mike and fellow Cars 3 writer Bob Peterson were touched seeing a man who spent his entire life cultivating this image of the tough, best basketball player suddenly being very vulnerable and genuinely concerned about the future and how he will recover. They were also inspired by Kobe's hyped up attitude towards the end. This is reflected in Lightning McQueen in Cars 3. Side note here, Mike Rich is known for his work on sports films, and now he's working on Pixar's Cars 3. Number 2. Tony Shalhoub is one of the only Disney actors who uses an accent. Disney isn't fond of its actors using an accent for a film because they believe it can destroy the performance. Disney only resorts to an accent when they either have to, like in the upcoming Spider-Man Homecoming film.
Mr. Stark, here's my report for tonight. I stopped the Grand Theft bicycle. Hey, could you do me a favor? Hold on to that. Is this anybody's bike?
It is awesome to have you here.
Thank you so much. I love this show. I love you, so thank you for having me.
Or when it's just too good to pass up. Thus, in the Cars franchise, Tony Shalhoub, the actor who voices Luigi, lays on an Italian accent. This is how Tony sounds as Luigi.
I must scream into the world my excitement from the top of someplace very high. Do you know many Ferraris?
Luigi only follows the Ferraris. Oh no. And this is how he sounds in real life.
Thanks to the Television Academy, to everyone at Universal Television, USA Network and Studios.
Number 3. Pixar made a life-sized Lightning McQueen. As a promotional stunt for Cars 3, John Lasseter, the director of Cars 1 and 2 and the man behind Pixar, revealed a real-life Lightning McQueen at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. Roll the clip. Nah, I'm just kidding. Roll the real clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, the real Lightning McQueen. Whoa. I mean, he truly is the first autonomous vehicle, don't you think? And he doesn't need GPS. He just drives around looking where he goes.
The remote-controlled, life-size McQueen was revealed in early January 2017, and with it came an in-depth look into the new characters in Cars 3. Number 4. The late Paul Newman voices Doc Hudson in Cars 3. If you've seen Cars 3 already, you might have noticed Lightning McQueen flashing back to Doc Hudson, his mentor and trainer from Cars 1. While the voice actor for Doc Hudson, Paul Newman, passed away in 2008, that's his actual voice used in those flashbacks. They got Paul Newman's voice by repurposing some of the audio recorded for Cars 1, which is definitely not an unknown practice in Hollywood. To find out more, Dirk Libby of Cinema Blend interviewed Brian Fee, the director of Cars 3, who said, quote, "We have lots of Paul Newman in the movie, which was because when John Lasseter was recording Paul Newman for Cars 1, John always kept the tape running. We were always recording, and Paul would tell stories in between takes, and John would just keep it going. We had 28 hours of Paul Newman stuff that we were able to listen to and repurpose." Think about that. They have over a full day of recordings of Paul Newman. Dude should make a podcast. Number 5. Speaking of Brian Fee, Cars 3 is his directorial debut, but he's been a regular over at Disney Pixar. He was a prop designer on The Little Mermaid 2, 101 Dalmatians 2, Mulan 2, Tarzan 2, and The Fox and the Hound 2. Up in Emeryville, he was a storyboard designer for Cars, Ratatouille, WALL-E, and Cars 2. Number 6. Speaking of storyboards...
This is gonna get old!
Yeah, I know! Speaking of storyboards, 81,924 were designed in the process of making Cars 3, but only 10,102 actually depicted scenes in the final movie. Storyboards are, of course, sketches depicting each shot of a film. Number 7. Jackson Storm is carefully designed. When the Cars 3 team set out to design Jackson Storm, they wanted to create a car that looked like the exact opposite of Lightning McQueen in every way possible. They did this by designing Jackson Storm in the following ways. Compared to Lightning McQueen's quite curvy body, Jackson Storm is sleeker, sharper, and a bit shorter, like he hugs the ground. On top of that, Jackson Storm still looks completely realistic. A matter of fact, the Cars 3 team went to various car shows, explored actual racetracks like the Sonoma Raceway, and consulted Ray Evernham, who used to be the crew chief of Hendrick Motorsports, when designing Jackson Storm. Yes! All of this allowed them to design him to the best possible standard. Heck, even the things like the shininess of Jackson Storm, or the amount of metal flakes in each color of paint were crazy accurate. Not even my editing and post-production is that accurate. Number 8. Cars 3 versus Cars 1. Cars 3 is much more like Cars 1, in the sense of emotional complexity and really overall goodness. John Lasseter told Entertainment Weekly, quote, "Cars 3 is a very emotional story. It's a bit more akin to Cars 1, where you get into a deep emotion with Lightning McQueen, subtly hinting at the less than favorable reaction to Cars 2. Moreover, the plot of the movie seems like sort of the opposite of Cars 1. In Cars 1, Lightning McQueen is the new, cool car that all the other cars fear, but in Cars 3, coming out 11 years after Cars 1, Lightning McQueen is now one of the old champs who has to face the newer, better generation of cars. For those who like analogies, the king is to Lightning McQueen in the first film, as Lightning McQueen is to Jackson Storm in the third film. For those who don't like analogies, I'm sorry, that was very convoluted. A matter of fact, this is echoed in the movie's music. In the bar scene right after Lightning and Cruz visit Doc Hudson's old racetrack, a couple of forklifts can be seen and heard singing Glory Days, a song by one of my favorite singer-songwriters, Bruce Springsteen. This song is about a man who has passed his prime and passed his glory days, so he sits around and reflects on them. In verse 3 of Glory Days, Bruce emotionally sings that he is, quote, "just sitting back trying to recapture a little of the glory." Glory Days reflects Lightning McQueen's story in the movie. He was once the great, new, fresh racer, but now he takes a backseat, pun totally intended, to the newer cars and is left to reflect on the career that once was. Number 9. Cars 3 being super dark. Despite what you probably saw in the pretty dark marketing, when you actually see the movie, you realize that Cars 3 isn't a super intense sad fest. I mean, the movie is rated G. Other movies that are rated G include Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Mary Poppins, and the Peanuts movie, so it makes sense that Cars 3 isn't full-on Manchester by the Sea. Or Manchester Car by the Sea. Okay, I'll show myself out. Although, as Scott Mendelson explains in this article he wrote for Forbes, the intense marketing was a real win for Pixar, especially after the not amazing Cars 2, going out and seeing a whole new Cars movie wouldn't be on the front of people's minds. But throwing in this sorta shocking, sorta controversial ad got people talking. It got people interested. I know it definitely had that effect on me. Though I would have seen it anyways, so. Number 10. The Demolition Derby. To tell us more about the Demolition Derby, we have Art from the AtZ Show.
Hey Alex.
Howdy. Take it away.
There's a bunch of cool stuff in the Demolition Derby scene, starting off with mud. Believe it or not, mud is one of the hardest things to animate, and in this movie, they animate mud in 616 scenes. And the reason why it's so hard to animate is because it's thicker than water, but it's still a liquid. And there's a bunch of it, and it's constantly interacting with the cars, so you can imagine how much work went into animating mud. On top of that, there's two other huge Easter eggs that you can find in this scene, and one of them is the good old-fashioned Pizza Planet truck that takes us all the way back to Toy Story. It's the thing that we've seen in almost every single Pixar film, and in this one we find out that his name is Todd. Which I'm not complaining because there's other cool characters that are cartoons that are also named Todd, so I'll leave it at that. But another cool thing to notice in this scene is the Luxo ball, which is painted on the hood of a car. So these two are Easter eggs that always find a way to sneak in.
Thanks, Art. Speaking of which, if you want to check out all of the Easter eggs and references in Cars 3, as well as how it fits into the Pixar theory, check out the video we made over on Art's channel. Click the I to check it out. That's all I've got for y'all this time. Art, do you want to take us out?
For sure. Thanks for watching DFTBA, and explore on.
Get ready for what's coming. More speed, more
Like for outdated memes, woo! Hello and welcome to all the people who came here from the AtZ Show. My name is Alex Nickel and I run this channel, Technicality. Technicality takes a closer look at our awesome universe. I make videos about science, history, pop culture, and everything I find awesome. On screen right now is a link to a New Here Try These playlist, which I strongly recommend you check out. And if you like what you just saw, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks.